Did you know that some of the most beloved plants in your garden could be silently waging war against your pepper plants, and most gardeners never discover the true culprit until the entire season is lost? Imagine this. You've watered faithfully, you've weeded, you've done everything the gardening guides told you to do, and yet your peppers come up stunted, bitter, disease-ridden, a fraction of what they should be, and the problem wasn't your soil, it wasn't your watering schedule, it was something you planted right beside them. Sounds a bit dramatic, right? But here's the real kicker. These aren't rare or exotic plants. They are common garden staples you've probably been growing for years, right next to your peppers, in perfect, unknowing innocence. Today, we're going to change that. I'll walk you through the 7 plants that silently sabotage pepper growth, organized by exactly how they cause harm, so you can rearrange your garden beds with clarity and confidence, and stay with me to the very end. Because plant number 7 is the one that surprises gardeners the most, and it's the single most common companion planting mistake I see made season after season. Now, before we dive into our list, I want to give you a framework that will change the way you think about companion planting forever, not just for peppers, but for every plant in your garden. Plants harm their neighbors in 3 distinct ways. The first is what botanists call allelopathy, or what I like to call soil poisoning. These are plants that release chemical compounds through their roots that suppress the growth of nearby plants. Some do it while they're alive. Others do it after they've died and decomposed. Either way, the damage is invisible and cumulative. The second category is resource rivalry. These are plants that simply want the same things your peppers want: nitrogen, potassium, water, sunlight, and they want more of it than your peppers can compete for. And the third, perhaps the most dangerous, is what I call the disease bridge. These are plants that share identical pathogens, pests, and fungal vulnerabilities with peppers. Plant them nearby and you've essentially built a highway for disease to travel directly from one plant to the next. Keep these 3 categories in mind as we go through our list. By the end, you'll see your garden in a completely different light. Let's dive in. First up, and this is one that surprises people every time, is fennel. Now fennel is beautiful, it's fragrant, it's culinary, and it feels like it belongs in a thriving herb garden. But here is what fennel is doing beneath the surface that you cannot see. Fennel releases 2 primary chemical compounds through its root system, anethole and fenchone. These are allelopathic exudates, meaning they leach directly into the surrounding soil and inhibit the root development of neighboring plants. For peppers specifically, these compounds suppress germination, stunt root growth, and in severe cases, cause complete transplant failure in young seedlings. But here's the real kicker. Fennel doesn't stop when you pull it out. The chemical residue from fennel's root system can persist in your soil for an entire growing season after the plant has been removed. So if you had fennel growing in a bed last year, and you're planting peppers there this spring, the damage may already be done before a single seed goes in the ground. Think of fennel as a gorgeous garden guest who leaves the mess behind long after they've left, and there's a spiritual dimension to this worth reflecting on. In traditional feng shui practice, fennel carries an expansive dominant energy. It colonizes its space and crowds out quieter energies around it. What ancient plant wisdom observed symbolically, modern botany has confirmed chemically. The most beautiful presences are not always the most generous ones. The rule: keep fennel in a container or in its own dedicated bed, at least 10 feet from any pepper planting, with no shared soil drainage. Next, we have sunflowers, and I know this one is going to be difficult to hear, because sunflowers feel like joy itself, but sunflowers produce a terpenoid compound called heliannuol, which is released through both their living root system and through decomposing plant debris after the season ends. Heliannuol suppresses the germination and growth of a wide range of vegetable crops, and peppers are among the most sensitive. The compound works by disrupting the cell membrane of nearby plant roots, interfering with nutrient absorption at the most fundamental level. The trap most gardeners fall into is this: they grow sunflowers in a bed one season, till them under at the end of the year thinking the soil is refreshed, and then plant peppers in the same bed the following spring. The heliannuol is still there. The suppression continues. The rule: do not plant sunflowers in any bed where peppers will grow within the following 2 seasons. Clear all debris completely, and do not compost sunflower material into beds that will host peppers. Even the brightest presence can cast too deep a shadow. Now we move into our second category, resource rivals, and leading this group are the brassicas, broccoli, kale, cabbage, cauliflower, and their cousins. Here's the science. Brassicas release glucosinolate compounds through their root system as a natural pest deterrent. These compounds are highly effective, they're part of why brassicas are so resilient. But those same compounds alter soil chemistry in ways that are unfavorable for peppers, specifically by shifting the soil pH and disrupting the microbial ecosystem that pepper roots depend on. Beyond the chemistry, brassicas are heavy nitrogen feeders. They pull nitrogen from the soil at a rate that outpaces almost any companion planting strategy you could employ. And this is where it gets really important for pepper growers. Capsaicin, the compound that gives your peppers their heat, their flavor, their entire identity, requires a precise nitrogen to phosphorus ratio to develop properly in the fruit. When brassicas are competing in the same bed, that ratio gets thrown off. Your peppers may fruit, but the heat and flavor will be noticeably diminished. The rule: minimum 3 feet of separation. If you must grow both, add a phosphorus-specific amendment exclusively to the pepper side of the bed to compensate for the nitrogen drain. Abundance shared too thin nourishes nothing fully. Corn, the centerpiece of so many gardens, is a resource rival of a different kind. The problem with corn isn't chemical, it's structural. Corn grows tall and fast, creating a canopy that dramatically reduces the sunlight reaching your pepper plants below. Peppers require 6 to 8 hours of direct sun daily for optimal fruiting and capsaicin development. A neighboring corn planting can cut that to 3 or 4 hours almost overnight once the stalks reach full height. But there's a second issue that's even more urgent. Corn and peppers share a common pest, the corn earworm. This moth lays its eggs on corn silks, but the larvae are highly mobile and will migrate directly to pepper plants once corn is disturbed or harvested. Plant them together, and you've essentially built a pest hotel with a ready-made buffet next door. The rule: never plant corn upwind or uphill from peppers. Maintain a minimum of 6 feet separation, enough that the corn canopy cannot shade your pepper bed at its peak height. A garden in competition with itself cannot grow in peace. I'd love to know, which of these plants have you been growing next to your peppers? Drop a comment below. I genuinely read every single one, and your answer might just save someone else's harvest. Sweet potatoes are among the most deceptively harmful companions in the garden. Their vines spread horizontally with remarkable aggression, and that sprawl is not just a physical inconvenience. Sweet potato root systems are highly competitive for phosphorus, which is the mineral most critical for pepper fruit development. When phosphorus is drawn away from your pepper roots, fruit set decreases, and the peppers that do form are often smaller and less flavorful. There is also evidence of allelopathic compounds released through dying sweet potato vine matter at the end of the season, adding a residual soil effect on top of the physical competition. The rule: sweet potatoes need their own dedicated bed, full stop. They are ground cover warriors. They spread fast and ask forgiveness never. Give your peppers the space and phosphorus-rich environment they need to thrive. Growth that crowds out others is not growth, it is conquest. Now here is where I need to have an honest conversation with you, and I want you to stay with me, because this one requires some nuance. Tomatoes. If you've watched our companion planting video from earlier this season, you may remember that tomatoes appeared on our companion plants list for peppers. And that's true. In small gardens where you have limited space, tomatoes and peppers can coexist. But here is the full truth that most gardening content doesn't tell you. Tomatoes and peppers are both members of the Solanaceae family, and they share an identical vulnerability profile. Bacterial spot, tobacco mosaic virus, early blight, and verticillium wilt can all move freely between the two plants. If your tomatoes contract any of these diseases, your pepper plants are the next guaranteed victim, and vice versa. They also attract the same pest population simultaneously. Spider mites, aphids, and whiteflies will move between the two plants as though they share an address. Here's the real kicker. One healthy season with both plants near each other tells you nothing. It's the season where one plant contracts disease that reveals the true risk. And by then, both crops are often lost before you've identified the source. The rule: if you grow both, maintain a minimum 4-foot physical separation. Rotate beds every single season. Never plant Solanaceae family crops in the same soil 2 years running. And never compose either plant's debris into beds that will host the other crop. True companions strengthen each other. When one weakens, both must be protected. And now we've arrived at number 7, the one I promised you at the beginning. The companion planting mistake that surprises gardeners more than any other. Potatoes. I know what you're thinking. Potatoes feel so different from peppers. They grow underground. They look nothing alike. What could they possibly share? Everything underground. Potatoes and peppers are both Solanaceae family members, and potatoes carry one of the most devastating pathogens in all of gardening, Phytophthora infestans, the organism responsible for potato blight. This pathogen doesn't stay politely in the potato bed. It spreads through airborne spores carried on moisture in the air, and pepper plants are equally susceptible. One infected potato plant upwind from your pepper bed can trigger a blight outbreak in your peppers within days, and potato blight moves fast. It can destroy entire plantings in a matter of weeks if conditions are warm and humid. There is also the Colorado potato beetle to contend with. These beetles will migrate directly from potato plants to pepper plants without hesitation. They are not picky about which Solanaceae family member they damage. And here's the detail that makes this mistake so common. Most gardeners never make the connection. They see blight on their peppers and assume it's a soil problem, a watering problem, a fertilizer problem. They replant in the same bed the following year with the same potato neighbors, and the cycle repeats. The rule: keep potatoes and peppers separated by at least 10 feet. Never plant them upwind or uphill from each other. Use a physical barrier, a fence line, a structure, a raised bed wall, if your garden space is limited. What we cannot see beneath the surface shapes everything that grows above it. And there you have it, 7 plants that are silently working against your pepper harvest, and exactly why. Before I let you go, I want to leave you with 3 simple rules you can apply to any pepper garden, in any space, at any skill level. Rule 1, the 3-foot minimum. Any plant that hasn't been proven to be a beneficial companion for peppers should be kept at least 3 feet away. This simple buffer dramatically reduces the risk of both resource competition and disease transfer. Rule 2, the rotation rule. Never plant Solanaceae family crops, peppers, tomatoes, potatoes, or eggplant, in the same bed 2 consecutive seasons. Rotate to a completely different crop family each year to break disease and pest cycles at the soil level. Rule 3, the debris rule. At the end of every season, remove all plant debris from disease bridge crops completely. Do not compost tomato, potato, or pepper material into beds that will host any of these crops the following year. What you leave behind in the soil today determines what your garden inherits next spring. Now that you know what not to plant with your peppers, I'd love to point you toward what actually does work. We've done a deep dive on the 10 best companion plants for peppers, the ones that naturally repel pests, improve soil, and can genuinely triple your yield. I'll link that video right here. Which of these 7 plants surprised you the most? Drop your answer in the comments below. I genuinely love hearing from this community, and your experience might just help a fellow gardener save their entire pepper harvest this season. If this video brought value to your garden and your day, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit the bell icon so you never miss what's growing next at Green Life Zen. For more ways to create a greener, more healing garden, one rooted in both plant science and the wisdom of the natural world, check out these related videos right here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.